Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Abhishekam, and I work at ATC. I'm one of the lecturers here. And today I was asked by my colleague, Mr. Ruben, and the host of this program, to just give you some tips on how to handle an interview. So firstly, I'll be very honest with you. I don't know what questions will come out. I have never done this interview, but generally coming from someone who is also a lecturer, who's also someone that runs a law program, I think I can imagine what kind of questions will be asked, right? So when you are preparing for this interview, there are some things here that are very basic. I'm sure you will also know already, but there are some things that might be new and interesting for you, right? So generally, the first thing I want to say is make sure you dress up when you go for your interview. Now, some of you are saying, of course, okay, but sometimes, when we talk to our friends and it's our same age friends, they might be making fun of us. Hey, why you're dressing up in jacket and tie and all of that, right? Just go, be cool. I think that is not a good thing. If you're going for an interview, you need to impress. You need to look like you are serious, right? So I think that's one of the most important things, because the perception matters. When the first time someone sees you, if already they think you don't even care to dress up, then I don't know whether you care for the program or not, right? So shirt and tie for me is absolute minimum, not even a question. Okay, I thought. Sorry. No, I thought it's a question. No, don't worry. Right. So for men, I think shirt and tie is a minimum. If you have a jacket, no need to go and specifically sew a jacket, but if you can borrow from a friend or a cousin, uncle, or whatever, I think it's important, right? Don't worry about what your friends are telling you. Don't be over a bit. All that. No need to worry about that. You dress up because you want to impress, and you will stand up, right? And then ladies, of course, formal. You can wear a shirt, a skirt. So I don't know what is the rules in the university, whether they will accept if you're wearing a skirt, maybe you wear a long skirt or a pants or something like that. Very, very important, right? Look formal. Okay, so questions they may ask. So firstly, I'm thinking of course, Mr. Thiru, is that correct? Yes, Mr. Thiru. Can I call you Mr. Thiru, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sure.
So Mr. Thiru told me that some universities are actually asking about some legal questions also, which I will address later. But in my mind, I think it's silly to ask you legal questions. You are going to study law. Right? That means you don't know any law, right? Right? But apparently they are still asking, right? So I thought generally what they will ask you things will be to find out what kind of personality you have. That's the kind of questions there. So the questions, they don't necessarily have a right answer. Like, oh, this is the answer. Only if you give me this answer, you pass. They want to sort of identify what kind of a person you are. Are you someone that is capable of doing a law degree? Because it's not a very easy degree to do, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's so difficult that nobody can do, but it's not, close your eyes can pass kind of thing. Also, it's not. So they need to see whether or not you are someone that is capable, right? And just because you have, 17 A's or 18 A's in your SPM, doesn't necessarily automatically make you capable. That's why they have these interviews, right? So if they ask you something along the lines of, are you ready for a law degree? Are you ready to study for a law degree, right? Now, I think confidence is very, very important. Even if you are not confident, even if in your heart, you are, your heart is beating 100, very fast, don't let that out. And sometimes we are, especially us Asians, right? We are told to be humble. We are told that we must always, I don't know, sir. I don't know. I will try my best, right? Don't do all these things, There is confident. You don't have to cross the line into arrogant. That's different. But confidence is not the same as arrogance. So if they ask you, are you ready to study for a law degree? You say yes. Don't pause, don't stop, don't say, I will try my best, don't say it all depends on God. All that, don't say. You say yes, right? That's important. Because if there are only 5 places and you are saying, oh, I'm not sure, I will try my best, everything depends on God. But then the other fellow says, yes, I'm sure I can do it. He's going to get the place. You know what I mean, right? So tell them, you know, and you want to tell the people there that you are not simply blindly saying this, you know that it is a degree that is going to require a lot of hard work. You say, yes, I am confident, I am ready, I am willing to do the reading, understanding the law, understanding how it applies. All these things, I think, are important that you convey. You must invoke confidence in them, right? And then another usual question that they might ask is why? Why do you want to study for a law degree, right? Now, maybe your reason is because my mother is forcing me to do. My father is forcing me to do. Don't. Of course, you don't tell them that, right? So you say, why do you want to study for a law degree? Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, these are things that you should think about now itself. Prepare so that when it comes out confidently. So you say, last time, I had a neighbor. The neighbor, someone came and took his property, cheated him. He couldn't do anything. I wanted to help him, but I couldn't because he didn't have money to pay for a lawyer. So I want to be a lawyer that helps the poor people. Now, the truth is, you don't have a neighbor. Your neighbor never had any problems. But you see, what have you done? You have told them the fact that you are going to use your law degree to help. Right? So along those lines, why do you want to study for law degree? I want to help the underprivileged people. But don't overdo it. Nobody's going to believe that, oh yeah, I don't want any money. I just want to help the poor people and everything for free. No, nobody will believe that also. So you must find a balance. You understand me, right? So you say, yes, and I think with a law degree, I will be able to help people who don't understand. I am very interested in the law. I am very eager to understand what is going on. I always read the newspapers. So I read the cases that go on in court. I'm very interested in all of that. So those are the things that if they ask, this kind of questions, you shouldn't be on the spot on that day thinking. So think about it today itself. I think about it today. What would you say if they ask this? What would you say if they ask that? Right? And practice it. Practice is important, no, right? Nobody, all those people that come suddenly and talk and they seem like very confident like that, it's all a show they are putting. It's practice. Beforehand, they will practice. That's why they are confident. They make it seem like it's very easy, but it's practice. What will you do with your law degree? So again, you can say, I will, obviously you can also say it is an avenue that I think I can make a good living for myself, for my family. I can bring my family into a better living economic situation. So that's fair. You don't have to be embarrassed to say that I believe that I will make a lot of money. But that shouldn't be your only thing. Because, if you are going to the interviewer and you say, the only reason I want to do a law degree is because I want to help people, money doesn't matter, nobody's going to believe you, right? So, but it's a balance, right? Make it believable. Make your words like something you genuinely want this law degree for various reasons, right? Then they might ask you what kind of legal practice you would like to have. So now we are starting a little bit on the legal knowledge a little bit, right? So generally in practice, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a lawyer, the 3 types of lawyers, right? In Malaysia, 3 types of lawyers. By the way, in Malaysia, you are called a advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya, right? So remember that, advocate and solicitor, right? And you are both. In the UK, it's a divided profession. So you either be a barrister, which is advocate, or you be a solicitor. In Malaysia, every lawyer is both. Okay, so the advocate is the person that goes to court and talks. The solicitor does the paperwork. But like I said, in Malaysia, all lawyers are both. Okay, so what kind of legal practice, if they ask you, right, what kind of legal practice would you have? Generally, in Malaysia, the legal practice is divided into three. Conveyancing. A conveyancing lawyer is someone that deals with sale and purchase of land, any land disputes, things like that. So any of you here, I mean, most of you, I think, are very young, you wouldn't have bought a house. But the father I spoke to and Mr. Thiru and all of that, if you have ever bought a house, you will know that you need a lawyer. Every single person that buys a house needs a lawyer. That is conveyancing work, right? The sale and purchase agreement, the loan agreement, doing the land search for you, checking whether there are any caveats, all of that. That's what the lawyer does, right? Now, that kind of lawyering is not so much going to court. In fact, maybe you are not even going to court at all, right? Then there's corporate lawyers. Now, corporate lawyers also don't go to court so much, right? But their job is advising companies and advising board of directors, what they can do, what they cannot do. If you want to list your company in the stock exchange, you need a lawyer. That's a corporate lawyer. If you have shareholders disputes, right, all the owners are fighting among each other, right? Or in your board of directors, there's disputes. That's corporate lawyers. So companies, we're talking big companies, when they want to invest in a country, they don't know the law there. They need some advice. Corporate lawyers will draft out an opinion for them and give it to them. Then they will make a decision. So that's corporate law, right? So conveyancing, corporate, and then there's litigation. I think the litigation lawyer is what all of you think in your mind when you think lawyer, right? You go to court, you stand before a judge, you make an argument, you have a witness, you cross-examine the witness, you question him, right? That is litigation, right? So litigation can be any type of litigation. If there's a breach of contract, it's a contract case. You go to court, means litigation. You get a divorce, you go to court, that's litigation. Any area of the law, if you are going to court, then you are a litigator, right? So these are the kinds that generally, like the legal profession in Malaysia, can be kind of divided into these three things, right? Now, doesn't mean that if you're a conveyancing lawyer, you cannot do corporate, or if you're corporate, you cannot do litigation. You can do whichever, right? Because when you are qualified to do anything. Right? But some people choose to specialize. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, please ask. Right. So then I also think, like I said, it's not fair for them to ask you, tell me this section and tell me this case. What does this case say and all of that? Because that's the whole purpose. You are going there because you want to study the law, isn't it? You haven't really studied the law. So they will try and ask you questions to see whether you are suitable for study of the law, right? So instead of asking you, do you like to read? They will ask you, what are your favorite books? They don't care about your answer, but they want you to have an answer. If at that time they ask you, what are your favorite books? You are sitting there and thinking means, then they know you are not someone that likes to read. So think about that now. What kind of books do you like to read? Right? Because the idea here is you are showing them you are someone that likes to read. Because the study of law requires a lot of reading, right? A lot of reading, right? You have to read textbooks, you have to read cases, you have to read law journals, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding, right? So maybe the TV shows and movies, maybe they won't ask, I don't know. But sometimes what they want to see is what kind of a personality you are. Are you someone that, doesn't read books, doesn't watch any TV, you only sit at home and will stare at the walls? So just because you still got your 10 A's, 15 A's in your SPM or STPM, not STPM, SPM, doesn't automatically mean you are suitable to study law. This is the kind of thing that they're trying to find out when they talk to you. Are you able to talk or not? When someone asks a question, are you someone that can answer confidently? Are you someone that is able to say, answer the question quickly? And confident doesn't mean, oh, my language must be tip-top. That's not so important. I won't say not important, but not so important. They want to know that there's something going on in here. And it's not just that you are someone that sit down and study in it. You understand what I mean, right? So they will try and ask questions about all of this. Do you have any questions for us? They will ask you that. This is actually it is not like a last minute throwaway. You shouldn't say, no, I don't have any questions, all good, right? Show them that you are interested in the program. Show them that you are, you have done research on the university, you are interested in the program. So if they ask, do you have any questions for us? So if you are at or whatever, just ask, what are your final year modules that you offer? What are the optional subject modules that you offer? I am very interested in intellectual property. Or I am very interested in company law. I am very interested in space law. Do you offer any kind of modules like this? See, when you ask that question, it shows the person interviewing that you are serious. You are someone that is really interested in the course, right? Things like that, right? So think about these kind of things. So basic legal info. Again, I really thought that they won't ask this kind of things. But Mr. Thiru has told me that some of the universities, they actually did ask some of these things, right? So I'm going to spend the next few minutes. We still have about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes just telling you a little bit, right? So what you must be familiar with is the federal constitution, right? The federal constitution, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm trying to see where's my copy of the federal constitution. I can't find it. Never mind. The federal constitution is the highest law of the land, right? Perlembagaan Persekutuan, right? So those of you who did the STPM, I think some of these things would be taught there, right, in your Kertas Am paper, right? So the Perlembagaan Persekutuan, right, the federal constitution is the most important document in the country, because the validity of anything that the government does or the courts do or the people do must be tied back to the constitution. If something the government does or something that you and I do, if it is not in line with the constitution, then what we are doing is unconstitutional. It's illegal, right? So the constitution is actually to protect us. So let's say, for example, the constitution guarantees that people cannot simply be arrested, the right to liberty. The constitution guarantees the right to education. The constitution guarantees the freedom from freedom of expression, let's say, for example. So let's say if the government tries to do something that stops you from exercising these rights, they cannot do it. They cannot, right? So recently, I don't know if you've been following, but by the way, if you all are serious about studying law, you must start reading up about government, about politics. All this is part of a law degree, about how the system of government works, how parliament works, how the judiciary works, right? Cases. It's good for you to know these things, right? So recently there was a challenge by some groups to say that Tamil schools and Chinese schools in the UK, in Malaysia, is unconstitutional. Okay, no problems, right? Tamil schools and Chinese schools in Malaysia is unconstitutional. Someone brought up a case in court and challenged it, and it said it goes against the constitution and it should be abolished, it should be made illegal, right? The court held that's not true. The court held that under our constitution, there is a guarantee of education in your own, in whatever language you want. See, if the constitution wasn't there, and let's say somebody wants to bully the minorities, somebody wants to take away your rights, they can't. They could. But because the Constitution is there, and because our courts respect the Constitution, that's why it was protected. You see what I mean? So generally, now, again, if they start asking you what is Article 4 and Article 5 of the Constitution, personally, I feel that is very unfair questions, right? But at least now you know that the most important, the most basic law of the land is the federal Constitution, right? Then there's court hierarchy. This one, Mr. Thiru was telling me that one of the universities asked about it as well, right? So court hierarchy, if you have a pen and pencil or paper, I will tell you now, right? The highest court of the land is the federal court, right? The highest court of the land is the federal court, Mahkamah Persekutuan, right? That's the highest. Now, I will explain a bit more after this. Then next level below, Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal. Mahkamah Rayuan. Right? So appeal is Rayuan. Okay? Then is the High Court. Then is the High Court. So this is interesting. You can impress your interviewer if you say this. In Malaysia, we have two High Courts. In Malaysia, we have two High Courts. You got the High Court of Malaya, not Malaysia, not Malaysia. High Court of Malaya, and then you got the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, only the High Court is divided. The Court of Appeal is the same. The Federal Court is the same. Okay, so start again. On top, Federal Court. Then next, Court of Appeal. Then next is the High Court. This side in Malaysia, in Semenanjung, Malaysia, is called the High Court of Malaya. In Sabah and Sarawak, it's called the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. These three courts are what we call the superior courts. Right? Superior courts. Then below that is the subordinate courts. So underneath the High Court, you have Sessions Court, Mahkamah Session. Right? You have the Sessions Court, and then you have the Magistrates Court. Right? So I know I didn't type it out in the slides and all, so I apologize for that. Because honestly, I didn't know what exactly these questions were. So Mr. Thiru just now gave me some little tips. So I thought I will explain that. But I will type it down in the chat group. So the highest is the Federal Court. And then next to it is the Court of Appeal. And then after that is the High Court. And remember, High Court, it depends where you are. High Court of Malaya or High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, then underneath the High Court is the Sessions Court, and underneath the Sessions Court is the Magistrates Court. So the Malay version of all of this, which is important, right? Knowing the Malay version all is very important. Federal Court is Mahkamah Persekutuan, Court of Appeal is Mahkamah Rayuan, High Court is Mahkamah Tinggi, right? Session Court is Mahkamah Session, and Magistrates Court is Mahkamah Magistrate. Okay, where you start your case, you can only start your case in Magistrates, Sessions, or High Court, depending on how big your case is. Small matters, Magistrate. Little bit bigger, Sessions Court. The biggest cases, High Court. This is where you start the case. You cannot start the case straight in Court of Appeal or Federal Court. That one is only for appeals. Right? Are we okay? So you can draw like a pyramid lah. Right? On top is the Federal Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, Sessions Court, Magistrates Court. Right? Okay, what type of law? Types of law. Now, these types of law things, sometimes they may ask you what kind of law you want to do lah. So generally, the law is divided into criminal law and civil law. So criminal law, I think everybody understands what is criminal law lah, right? If you break, if you do a crime, right, then you will be charged and maybe you'll be convicted under criminal law, right? Civil law is everything else, everything else. So if you are challenging someone, you are suing someone for breach of contract, that is civil law. someone knock you down in the road, you are suing him, civil law. You get a divorce, civil law. You wrote a song, someone stole your song, and they are saying that it's their song. That's intellectual property, civil law, right? So generally it's criminal law, civil law. What is the difference? Criminal law is where possibly you can go to jail. Civil law, even if you lose, you never go to jail, right? You will have to pay the money, damages, things like that. Okay, right? So again, guys, maybe I'm going a bit fast, but because I'm noticing it's already 7:30. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer questions. Okay. Okay, and this is something else that Mr. Thiru just told me. In one of the interviews, they said, act like a lawyer for 3 minutes. Okay, if you're going to act as a lawyer, right, this is how you start. So let me tell you, right? You start off with dengan izin Yang Arif. Nama saya so and so, bagi pihak plaintiff. Sorry, I'm going to try and type here. Okay, I hope you all still can see this. Dengan izin, nama saya so and so, bagi pihak plaintiff. So who is the plaintiff? The plaintiff is the person who is suing. If I am suing you because you didn't do part of your contract, then I am the plaintiff, you are the defendant. Okay, so dengan izin Yang Arif. Yang Arif is what you call the person in the High Court, right? Saya bagi pihak plaintiff dan rakan bijaksana saya Encik. So you must introduce your opponent, right? So Encik so and so bagi pihak defendant. So this is your starting line. Every time you stand up in court, you must introduce yourself, you must introduce your opponent, and then you say who and who lah, who is what. So dengan izin Yang Arif, nama saya Daniel bagi pihak plaintiff dan rakan bijaksana saya. And when you're lawyers, you always say rakan bijaksana. Even though you think he is not so bijak, but you have to say, right? Rakan bijaksana, saya Encik so and so bagi pihak defendant, right? And then you say kes pada hari ini melibatkan suatu so then you say what it is, permohonan untuk mendapatkan damages, right? Permohonan untuk mendapatkan ganti rugi. Right? Then you start explaining what is it your case is lah, right? Melibatkan suatu permohonan untuk ganti rugi bagi untuk kerana pihak defendant telah breach of contract lah. Sorry, my Malay, I on the spot I can't think of the Malay words. It's a bit rusty, right? Untuk ganti rugi, and then you state the why, right? Why you are claiming. What is the facts? So pada tahun 2021, so and so telah menandatangani kontrak dengan saya, and you're supposed to deliver 5 crates of apples, but they never deliver, they took my money. So that is how you do it in court. No, you stand up, you introduce yourself, you tell the judge what is the case about today, right? Explain the facts of the case, and then you explain what you are going to prove, right? So pihak plaintiff akan membuktikan bahawa sebuah kontrak telah disign, ditandatangani pada tahun 2021, and pihak defendant tidak membuat apa yang patut, and so that's why we are suing. Right? So again, I'm the only reason I'm saying this is because Mr. Thiru just now said one of the universities asked this question. Right? This is how a lawyer would act in court. Right? Stand up, never sit down and talk. Stand up, address the court dengan izin. Yang Arif, nama saya so and so, explain what you're there for, explain what you're going to prove, and then at the end you say dengan izin, saya akan teruskan dengan saksi pertama saya. So you bring your first witness. If you can jalan that, I think that will already be 2-3 minutes already. And that seems to be what they have asked. Right? Okay, so before I know it, it's already been 6 minutes longer than I should be talking already. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give you some time to ask me any questions if you have. This is my email address. So if you have any questions you want to ask, or maybe you have heard from your friends what kind of questions they ask you in the interview, and then you want to ask me about it, I'll be happy to answer.
Students, please feel free to raise some questions here. Use this opportunity. Some of you would have already attended, okay, 1 or 2 universities interview. Some are going to. Why not we just have discussions since our expert is here. If there are any questions, he can guide us. இது கேட்கணும், நல்ல opportunity. Parents யாரா இருந்தாலும் கேட்கலாம். Any parents, students feel like asking him something?
Look, I've been teaching for a long time. I know how students are. Everybody is shy to ask questions. So if you have, please don't worry. I'm willing to answer. I'm happy to answer. But if later you go back home and then you think, oh, I should have asked this, then you can just send me an email. I'm putting my email address down here. But when you send me an email, just explain who you are. I met you in the talk that day and all of that. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Students, any questions you want to ask now? Or anyone would want to share your recent interview participation? Yesterday, today, this morning? Anyone would like to share? Can someone come forward and share your experience? What did they really ask? Essay writing and so on. Anyone attended recent University Malaya interviews?
Hi sir, I just did my interview just now.
Oh, today, yeah.
Yeah, today, just now. Evening.
Where was it?
UM online.
Oh, really? Oh, online. Okay. Can you just brief us, Nathan, what actually happened?
So they let me wait in the waiting room first before I enter the interview room. So while waiting there, they gave me the situation for the 3-minute lawyer. So I need to prepare before entering the interview room.
Okay.
So after I enter interview room, then they just ask the simple question, why, tell me about yourself, and why I chose law. Then all that, then they ask me to explain my answer for the 3-minute lawyer question.
Any particular topic they gave you for the 3 minutes lawyer action?
No, sir. The questions were exactly like the same one that the someone sent in the group.
Okay.
So they just asked me that. Then after that, they just asked few simple questions like they asked me where I'm from. Then like they give me 30 seconds. Tell me about tell me about Penang in 30 seconds, like that. Just random question.
You see, that kind of questions, guys, they don't care about Penang. They're not really interested in finding out about Penang. They want to see how you are able to, on the spot, think, formulate an answer, and tell the answer. So exactly like what I was saying, like the purpose of the questions will be to see whether you are someone that is capable of answering or not. So the confidence is absolutely important. The content also is, I mean, unless you are totally wrong, but the content is not so important in this kind of interviews. They want to see what kind of a personality you have. Are you suited for the study of law? That's the kind of thing that they are looking for. So just like what the student just said, think of general questions like this. If they ask, what would you say? You shouldn't be spending 30 seconds, 1 minute sitting there thinking, that all doesn't look very good, you know. So you need to start practicing lah. That's what I think is important.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan. Nathan, you know, the 3 minutes act as a lawyer. Actually, what actually went on?
For me, the question was about as stewardess. Like after marriage, she got pregnant and the airline terminated her contract. So I need to represent her to fight in the court. So I just say about how to say about like gender discrimination, because at first when they hire her, they say she has the same terms as the man. So after she get married and got pregnant, they just terminate her. So I talk about it, like the gender discrimination, and they didn't give her like enough time to get her leave and to let her prepare back to join back work. So like that I just talk about it.
Mr. Daniel, in this situation, how could a student answer?
Okay, so I didn't know they will give a specific situation.
Situation.
So obviously the facts that they've given you is the case of Beatrice Fernandez. Beatrice Fernandez is quite a famous case from a few years ago, where the same thing happened. They sacked her after she was pregnant and all of that. Again, I really don't expect the university to expect you to know the actual law, the case and all of that. If that is what they're looking for, is ridiculous, in my opinion, because you haven't studied law, right? So I think what they're asking you is this is common sense, right? Like a logical answer. So you may not quote cases and sections and all of that, but you will say, so I believe this is gender discrimination. You're right. I think Nathan, right? You are. I think you did it correctly. Is gender discrimination. Why should a woman be treated differently just because she has given birth, right? As long as she's still capable of doing the job, there should be no further discrimination and things like that. So the key is don't get emotional. Lawyers shouldn't get emotional. Lawyers shouldn't say, how can you do this to the client? It's terrible. You don't win a case on emotion. This only happens in the movies, right? Banging table, crying, all that doesn't happen in real life. In real life, you need to be calm, clear, and clearly tell them why you think what has happened is wrong, why you think you are defending the person you're defending is right, you know, that kind of thing. So I think Nathan, what you did was good.
Good, yeah. Yes, I think he has done well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Any other students, just like Nathan, to share your views so that it will benefit others? And any other students would want to come forward? Or anyone else facing interviews tomorrow, next week, or waiting to know the status of the interview? Students, anyone there? Please come forward. Okay, if none, then Daniel, just now, when we began our session, okay, Ruben also told me that there will be a full briefing session about legal profession. And then I think, remember, Ruben told me it's on the 20th, is it? Any details, Ruben?
Yeah. Well, these students are very quiet. Okay. We are going to have a talk on 20th of June, all right, from 10 until 11 in the morning, right? And it will be conducted via Zoom. And of course, it will be conducted by Mr. Daniel Abhishekam here. So he's going to talk about the academic pathway. Topic of, the talk will be the academic pathway to becoming a lawyer in Malaysia. So basically, he'll be explaining, say if you have completed your SPM or matriculation or STPM, what will be your pathway, what will be the next, probably, you have to do your degree. Then after that CLP, he'll be briefing you guys in detail on that. So for that, I will be actually forwarding Mr. Thiru the link and also the invite, so you guys are free to join. So that session will be very, very helpful for you guys.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ruben.
So I also would like to say, I wish you all the very best in your interviews. I hope you all get places in the university, but if you don't, please remember it's not over, right? It's not the end of the world. There are many other opportunities for you to continue your dream of being a lawyer, right? Come and speak to us, attend this talk, speak to us. We will be happy to tell you how, right? We'll be happy to tell you how and how to go about this. And you might end up with an internationally recognized degree, right? That you didn't think about, but maybe there were some plans from above for you to be different from your other friends or whatever, right? So just come and find out. Like, information is always good, right?
Okay. Thanks, Daniel, for this wonderful time, valuable time. I'm sure, I assume you are very busy, and just with the short notice of 2 days, you kindly agreed for the session. Because even initially I didn't plan for it, but too many calls from students. I thought, why not we just call an expert, with this knowledge, the wonderful knowledge you shared. It will surely benefit, because there are many students, they are waiting to go, not yet. Like Nathan he has completed, I think he has gone for UM today, and UKM the other day, he told me.
No, sir, UKM I not check.
Oh, not
And
yet.
then the interview, yeah. Next week.
Next week. Which are the universities so far you have done?
Only UM.
Only UKM next week.
Yeah.
Other like the other universities, which on the UKM, the other one you applied.
UIA.
UIA also you applied, got interview.
Yeah, but I think it's not.
No, we don't know the date yet.
Yeah.
We don't know the status yet.
Yeah.
The UNISA, I'm sure you would have applied, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir, I applied for that.
All right, fine. Okay, so thanks, students. It's already 7:48. Can we just end the session now? I presume there is no more questions. So of course we are for Daniel and Ruben's information, I've just created a special group for law. Okay, there are some 30 students. Of course, we wouldn't know they all are really going for law, but some kind of interest on law. Some of them are SPM leavers, some are matriculation and STPM leavers are there. And hopefully today's session would have benefited for those who have attended. And if in case there is no if let's say government universities doors are shut due to any reason, let's say in case if they are not selected, and if their burning desire, burning ambition is only law, of course they can consider the other opportunities. Alternative paths are always there. So with this, I thank everyone, the students, parents, and Mr. Daniel, Mr. Ruben, and maybe 1 or 2 teachers are there. So I thank everybody. So we'll end the session now. Thanks. So we'll have another opportunities to meet Mr. Daniel and Ruben with our students. Thanks, students.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Bye.